Recently, the 2017 NBA draft class has gotten paid. We've had multiple max contracts given out to those players. Jason Tatum received a 5-year max. De'Aaron Fox got a max. Donovan Mitchell got a max. Bam got a max. So, it's safe to say that this draft class has had a ton of good players, but this draft class has also had some flops. I think this is one of the more memorable draft classes in a few years. So we're going to look back on it 3 years later. Now, there's not really going to be any structure to this. I'm just going to talk about, where the player's at now, if they should have been taken that high. I'll probably look at their comparison, talk about their potential. There's nothing really to this, but just talking about the draft class. So, first overall, picked by Philly, Markelle Fultz. Yikes. Markelle Fultz had so much potential coming out of college, but, I don't know what happened to his shoulder, but it's ruined his career when you look at it. Philly, what makes this pick even worse is that they traded up to get him. They gave additional assets to Boston, who ended up taking Jason Tatum, who, safe to say has been the better player, to take Markelle Fultz. Now, Markelle Fultz, hasn't been terrible in Orlando, but when you draft someone number 1 overall and you give up on them 2 years later because they're just that bad, then, yeah, safe to say you didn't make the best pick. Looking back at his draft comparison, he was compared to James Harden. Yikes. Coming out of college, that seemed like a pretty fair comparison, but looking at it now, that's just, you can't get more far off than that, especially with the shooting. I saw a comparison to a better shooting Dwayne Wade, which is, Markelle Fultz shooting. No, that's just hasn't been there, so Philly would have been better off taking literally anybody else in this draft. Number 2 overall, the first of the Ball brothers to be drafted into the NBA, Lonzo Ball from LA. Another player who is not on their original team this year. But Lonzo Ball has had okay NBA career. Definitely been better than Markelle Fultz, but maybe not living up to that hype he had coming out of college. The comparisons to Jason Kidd. I saw a Manu Ginobili comparison. He had this comparison to these big playmaking point guards that could shoot, and Lonzo's jump shot has improved, but it's still not there. And picking him at 2, in a weird way, might have been the best pick for LA because they were able to trade him for Anthony Davis. And if the Lakers had picked Tatum, do you think they still trade him for AD, or do they keep him? I don't know. So maybe in a weird way, Lonzo was the best pick they could have gotten, but in general, definitely not worth the number 2 overall pick. Number 3 overall, Jason Tatum. I remember when they traded down to number 3, I was not happy because I believed in Markelle so much more than I believed in Tatum. And there was very heavy debate over whether the Celtics should draft Jason Tatum or Josh Jackson. And they made the right decision. Like I said, Tatum just got max contract, and Jason Tatum has been probably the best player in this draft. You could argue Donovan Mitchell. I would take Tatum, but it is an argument. Jason Tatum was compared to Harrison Barnes. So, yeah, safe to say he's beaten that comparison, and he will. Jason Tatum could go on, he's going to be a multiple-time All-Star. Who knows where his ceiling could be. He could end up being in that MVP conversation one day, or maybe not. I'm not too sure. But Jason Tatum has improved massively coming out of college. They said he needed to work on his jump shot. He's definitely done that. They said he needed to improve his defense. Jason Tatum has become one of the more underrated defenders in the entire league. I think he got some defensive team votes. Not many, but he got a few. And Tatum definitely should have been the number 1 overall pick in this draft. Maybe Donovan Mitchell, but probably Tatum. And the fact that the Celtics were able to trade down for him is like an all-time fleece. The guy that was almost picked over him, Josh Jackson, goes 4 to the Suns. And Josh Jackson is bordering on being out of the league. He's not been able to develop any kind of offensive game. He's shooting under 30% from 3 in his career. And his defense, he can defend, but it hasn't been as locked down as you would have liked. Bleacher Report compared him to a jacked-up Chris Middleton. So, nowhere near the offensive player Chris Middleton is, and probably not even the defender that Chris Middleton is, so another miss. Phoenix would have been better off taking De'Aaron Fox. That would have been a great pick for them to run the point guard along Devin Booker. They could have drafted, Donovan Mitchell, though that would have been a reach. Bam, John Collins all on the board. This is a miss by Phoenix, and Phoenix has many draft misses in their career, but they've hit recently with Booker and Ayton, but Josh Jackson not one of them. Another guy that got paid this offseason, De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox picked number 5 by the Kings, and De'Aaron Fox has been pretty good during his career. Obviously, he just got a max contract. I hope De'Aaron Fox can, build on what he's done so far and become that all-star that we all know he can be. He has a lot he needs to work on, like his shooting. He needs to add a little more to his offensive game than just driving to the basket. But De'Aaron Fox, right now, is a very good point guard. He's the tier under an all-star, but you assume that he can make that jump. And De'Aaron Fox, looking back on it, definitely should have went higher in this draft. Like I said, Phoenix definitely probably should have taken him, looking back on it, because the Kings got a steal. De'Aaron Fox was compared to John Wall. I can definitely see that comparison. It makes total sense. De'Aaron Fox and John Wall, both amazing playmakers, not great shooters, lightning fast. Obviously talking about John Wall in his prime. So, I don't know if De'Aaron Fox will get to prime John Wall good, but he definitely can. At number 6, the Magic took John Isaac. John Isaac, man, I just wish he could stay healthy, because John Isaac has Defensive Player of the Year potential. When you have a wing that's that tall, with that big of a wingspan, that can guard multiple positions, that gets as many blocks, that plays perimeter defense like John Isaac does, and he is like the prototypical Defensive Player of the Year wing in the NBA. And his offense hasn't been terrible. He shot 33% from 3 in his career, 43% overall, so, he's not knocked down, but, he can hit them. John Isaac, the problem is he just has to stay healthy. He's only played 136 games in his career, which, is less than guys like Lonzo. That's less than Josh Jackson. That's less than most of the people above him. And John Isaac, if he can stay healthy, I think has endless potential, but he just has to stay healthy. So at number 6, I do think this is a good pick for Orlando. I think he'll turn out. Number 7, Lauri Markkanen. This was the Jimmy Butler trade. Lauri Markkanen ended up going to Chicago. And Lauri Markkanen, in his first season with the Bulls, seemed like he had tons of potential. And he still does have tons of potential. He just hasn't really built on anything he's done. He's become kind of more of just a spot-up shooter than the focal point of the offense. And maybe that's due to Jim Boylan's coaching or the system they run there. And you hope that maybe Billy Donovan can get him more involved in the offense. But as of right now, Lauri Markkanen is a decent player with a lot of potential. Back in his rookie year, you saw him do more in the low post, than he does now. Now he just kind of sits out there and chucks threes and doesn't make them as much as he used to. He shoots 35% from 3 on his career, which is like a league average. But for a guy that's known for his sharpshooting, you hope that he can improve on that. He was compared to Ryan Anderson. I can definitely see that. I do think Lauri Markkanen has way more offensive ability, because Ryan Anderson's really just a shooter, but I think Lauri Markkanen has the potential to become way more than just a 3-point shooter. Frank Ntilikina at number 8. Oh boy. Frank Ntilikina was a very debatable pick at the time, very controversial. People thought they should have taken Dennis Smith Jr., which, hey, look, now the Knicks have both, and they're both pretty terrible, let's be honest here. I mean, maybe not terrible. Frank Ntilikina is a very good defensive player, but on offense in his career, 36% from the field, 31 from 3. Can't knock down the shot, and he can't finish at the rim either. So if you can't do any of those things, it's going to be hard to score points in the NBA. Dennis Smith Jr., taken by Dallas. In his first year with the Dallas Mavericks, he didn't shoot it very efficiently, but he put up 15 points a game, and you could see his athleticism and his playmaking ability put on. You thought, okay, Dennis Smith Jr. has a lot of potential. And then he went to the Knicks, and it has been really sad to watch. I mean, he has just been terrible. He's barely been able to touch the floor. His shooting, the little shooting he had has fallen off. He just can't really do anything. His defense isn't there. Doesn't really try on defense. So, yeah, the Knicks, drafted Frank Ntilikina over Dennis Smith. Now they have them both. And, yeah, they're both pretty bad. Dallas, traded Dennis Smith Jr. for Kristaps. So, maybe in a weird way, once again, that was the best pick they could have made. At number 10, Zach Collins finds his way to the Blazers. Zach Collins, another guy that really can't stay healthy. But Zach Collins is, decent, I mean, I don't think he was worth the number 10 overall pick, but he's just solid. If you wanted a big man, obviously Bam is still on the board. John Collins is on the board. Donovan Mitchell, he's not a big, but he's still on the board. So not worth number 10, but a solid player. Malik Monk at number 11 by Charlotte. I was really high on Malik Monk, but it has just not turned out the way I thought it would. Coming out of college, he was really supposed to be the best shooter of the draft, and he's shooting 32% from 3 in his career. So, not exactly the best shooter in the draft. A lot of people thought he could be that J.R. Smith type of athleticism. He could dunk the ball like J.R., shoot it like J.R., and yeah, he's got the hops, but the offensive game has just not been there. Detroit took Luke Kennard at 12, who they just traded, and Luke Kennard has been pretty good. Shot 40% from 3 so far in his career, and I'm surprised Detroit just kind of traded him, even though he's been pretty good for them, and he is still young, so Luke Kennard is not bad at 12, but what makes it bad is number 13, who plays the same position, is Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell, probably the second best player, debatably first best player in this draft, and he was actually drafted by Denver and then traded, so yeah, sucks for Denver, and then sucks for Detroit, who passed on him. I don't got much else to say about Donovan Mitchell, except that, he was an all-star, just got paid the max, averaged 24 points a game last season, has been the focal point of the Utah offense after Hayward left, and has led them to multiple playoff spots. Donovan Mitchell is going to be great for years to come. Coming out of college, he was compared to Norman Powell, and I can honestly see it. Like, Norman Powell seems like a lesser version of Donovan Mitchell play style-wise, but obviously Donovan Mitchell is a much better player. Another hit at number 14 is Bam Adebayo, another guy who just got paid. Bam Adebayo ate the Celtics in the conference finals. He was just getting dunk after dunk on pick and roll after lob, terrorizing defensively in front of the basket. Bam Adebayo has endless potential. If he can develop more of an offensive game, maybe add a little jump shot, maybe add some post moves, he's going to be one of the better big men in this league for a long time. And even right now, if he never improves, Bam Adebayo was very good. I mean, he was an all-star, so Bam Adebayo, I think, might even be underrated. I have Bam Adebayo as like the 4th best center in the league, in my opinion. I think he's really good. And, coming out at number 14 is a steal. Now, that's the end of the lottery, so I'm just going to kind of breeze over the rest of the draft. Justin Jackson at 15. Justin Jackson, whatever. Justin Patton at 16. Yeah, he has played 9 games in his NBA career, so once again, not a very good pick. Number 17, Milwaukee took DJ Wilson. DJ Wilson, okay. Doesn't get that much playing time, isn't amazing. Number 18, the Pacers took TJ Leaf. I feel like TJ Leaf's pretty terrible. I don't know why. Every time I see TJ Leaf play, I feel like I'm just watching someone who's never played basketball before. I mean, if you look at his shooting splits, 34% from 3, almost 50 from the field. I mean, I guess that's not terrible, but I don't know. TJ Leaf, whatever. Number 19, another steal. John Collins for Atlanta. Absolute steal at number 19. John Collins, is kind of in a weird fit in Atlanta right now because of all the big men they have, and he apparently wants a max contract, but, it's hard to pass up on giving him maybe a max because along Trae Young, he seems like the perfect lob threat for him and has worked to stretch the floor. You hope later on in his career he can learn to run the 5 and become a better rim protector, but I don't know if that'll happen. John Collins has put up, seasons of 20 points, so John Collins an absolute steal at 19. Harry Giles at 20. Harry Giles out of high school was like the number 1 prospect, but those 2 massive leg injuries have just set him back. Terrence Ferguson at 21. Ugh. Terrence Ferguson's like not very good. Super athletic, and he had some, years of getting minutes on OKC, but, never great minutes for them. So he was just always kind of eh. Jared Allen at pick 22. Pretty good value for number 22. Jared Allen protects the rim, rebounds, challenges guys at the basket. That's just a great pick for Brooklyn at, number 22, especially looking at the guys that were taken above him. I don't know what kind of money Jared Allen's going to get. Apparently he wants Clint Capella type money, which I don't really know what that means, but Jared Allen does remind me of a Clint Capella, so I think he could do that. At number 23, the Raptors took OG Anunoby. I think OG Anunoby ended up falling in this draft, I think he was projected to go higher, but I'm not too sure. OG at 23 has been a very good pick for Toronto. You know, he kind of missed the championship season for them. He didn't really play, but when he's been healthy and on the court, OG Anunoby has been that prototypical 3-and-D wing. You know, he hit one of the bigger shots of the playoffs, which I try to forget, but, you know, OG Anunoby's just got ice in his veins apparently, so OG Anunoby has potential. You know, even if he just ends up being a nice 3-and-D player for his career, he's going to have a long career, and if he can end up developing into, you know, more of a star type role, then this is a steal at 23. Tyler Lydon at 24, he's played 26 games in his NBA career, so whatever. Number 25, Ajis Poshniks, I believe how you say it, for Orlando. 27 games in his career, once again, not very good. Portland took Caleb Swanigan at 26, not very good. 27, Kyle Kuzma for the Lakers. I know Kyle Kuzma likes, you know, people love to clown Kyle Kuzma. But Kyle Kuzma, in his first couple of seasons, you thought, man, this guy has potential to be one of the better scorers in this league. And, you know, I still think he has potential. I don't think he'll be that good, but, hey, if you're getting Kyle Kuzma at 27, that's pretty decent value. I mean, he played decent minutes on a championship-winning team, so I don't think you could say that a lot of the guys above him could have done that. So, Kyle Kuzma at 27 isn't a bad pick. Tony Bradley at 28. Tony Bradley is just a glorified backup center, you know, does all the little things well. It's just Tony Bradley. Derek White at 29 is pretty good value. Derek White might end up getting traded just because the Spurs have so many guards, like DeJounte Murray, Patty Mills, so maybe Derek White's on his way out. I'm not too sure, but Derek White has had some decent years for them. Kind of had a good playoffs in 2019 when they went up against the Nuggets. That's where I first saw Derek White be really good. And, hey, maybe Derek White can, you know, find the next level at another team that gives him more of a role. And the last pick of the first round was Josh Hart. Another pretty good value pick. Josh Hart is kind of an interesting player because he can really run 2 through 4. Like, he's a guard and gets, like, hella rebounds. It's pretty weird. And Josh Hart is a decent shooter, 35% from the field. He's just a solid role player, and I think that's all he'll be for his career, and that's not bad if you're getting that at pick 30. As for the second round, there's not really many amazing players taken in the second round. I guess some notable ones. Wesley Iwundu, you know, at pick 33 is decent, another role player. My boy Semi Ojeleye started in a playoff game, don't forget. Semi Ojeleye started in the playoffs. And at pick 37, I'm not the biggest Semi fan, but I guess he gets the job done. He's kind of a brick wall out there, both in his shooting and his defense, so, you know, interpret that how you want. Thomas Bryant at 42. Thomas Bryant is a pretty young center, has some potential to, you know, become more of a stretch 5 in Washington. I don't think he'll ever be an all-star, but Thomas Bryant, if you can get any production out of people in the second round, it is a good pick. Dillon Brooks at pick 45 has been steal for Memphis. Dillon Brooks has been starting for them, been one of their better young players alongside John Morant, and if you're getting that at pick 45, that's great value. Monte Morris at pick 51 has been a solid backup point guard for Denver. You know, nothing special, but has one of the highest assist to turnover ratios every year. You know, he just plays smart, shoots around 40% from 3, so Monte Morris at 51 is a great pick. That's really the only last notable name in this draft. So, as for this draft as a whole, you know, I think it's pretty solid. You got your fair share of stars, Tatum, Mitchell, Bam, tons of role players, some decent steals in late rounds, and, you know, it showed with the amount of contracts and max contracts that have been given out. Although there are a lot of misses in this draft. When you look back at the lottery, there are a lot of misses, so I'll probably do some of the other draft classes. I might do 2016 next. So, 2017 draft class, 3 years later.